Hey guys, it's Donna and Linda Downey, and we are here today to talk about accountability, simple accountability, your path to success. Hi,
Hey, Donna.
Linda.
I just want to say we see each other bi-monthly, right? So 2 weeks ago we were together and you
Yes.
had a cute denim jacket on. So like an hour ago, I'm like, I gotta go get my denim jacket. Not that I thought you would have yours on, but
But you know what? I almost had it on, and the only reason why I don't have it on right now is because it's in my car and I don't have time to go get it. But otherwise, I would have worn it. All right, so that may have to be our uniform coming up, Linda. It just may be it.
I don't know. Then you came on and I was like, oh, she's got a really pretty flowered thing on. Denim jacket. So I don't know. That's that like
Well, I like your denim jacket. Beautiful.
Thanks. Yeah, so I'm so happy to be here again with you as we are twice
Yeah.
a month to just talk about all things that we can think of that can help move people's lives forward, because that's what we're in the business of doing in
Yeah.
our own realm, right?
Yeah. It's interesting because I guess today's topic being simple accountability, it's almost simple abundance, simple joy, simple peace.
I like all of that.
Right? Isn't it? Maybe we need to write a book or something on this. But I think, this morning during my meditation, something came to me that was very clear. And I'm only going to speak for myself, but I think other human beings probably experience the same thing. The act of peace or the act of abundance or the act of, accountability isn't necessarily so difficult. I feel like we make it difficult, or I make it difficult, right? With the rules and judgments that we place of how something should be done, or the framework that we believe that it has to be done in, so we may say, oh, I have a goal and I want to achieve it in X, Y, and time. And then if it doesn't happen, or we're not seeing seeds grow from that goal, we lose hope or frustrated, or our stories begin to come in to say, is it really going to happen for me? Is this possible?
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I mean, what I was thinking when you were speaking was like what my life was like in my 20s and 30s. Like, I had so many rules that I set up for myself to follow, my shoulds, the way it was supposed to look, the things I
Give me
was.
1 second. I'll be right back.
Yeah, go ahead. Yep, I'll just keep. So for me, in my 20s and 30s, um, and maybe 40s, things were like, I had all these rules. I should be exercising this amount of time. I should be reading this number of books. Like all of these things set up kind of rules for myself. And now here I am. I'll be 56 in December. So I'm finally getting to the point, or I have been for the last couple of years, like really working my way around that and letting the rules go and
Yeah.
listening more to my heart. Um, Listening more to my heart about how I want my life to look instead of taking on the expectations of what I think other people want from me.
Yeah, I think it does come to that shift where there's so I think people, no matter who it is, it could be our family, it could be coworkers, it could be friends. And I think it was Carolyn Miss who said this, that she considers us outlets, like plug outlets. And she says everybody in your life is going to try to plug into you
Uh,
and take the energy. And if people don't do it because, excuse me, they're waking up in the morning saying, I can't wait to steal Donna's energy, but
okay.
they're doing it because everybody's out there trying to do their best to get their needs met.
Yeah.
And when we're looking outside of ourselves, we're looking at, okay, where can we get it from and who can we take it from? But again, it doesn't mean that we're out there exactly looking for that. It's just that we're just doing our best that we can with what we have. And I think the whole concept of the simple accountability is that you're no longer looking outside of and yourself, you're looking on the inside. Like you said, you're tapping into your heart, you're tapping into your spirit, you're tapping into that small voice that has been guiding you, that you may have been shushing for many, many years.
Yeah. And when you start to listen to that voice instead of the external voices,
Mhm.
life really does just get a lot simpler. It's like, is this making me feel good? What do I want? Is this making me feel good? And then taking action like from there, and consistent action. So just to circle it back to accountability.
Oh, you read my mind, because that's exactly what I was thinking. What is accountability?
Yeah. I mean, you know, accountability is to me, well, a lot of times we look for someone else to bring to give us accountability, right? Like we look for, and that can be a very helpful tool, right? And you also want to look for simple accountability within yourself. So
Yeah.
to me, it's both, and certainly developing both really helps people get to their goals.
Yeah.
What were you thinking?
I think it's the same thing. I think there's accountability, there's external accountability, and then there's internal accountability. And
Yeah.
I think they actually are both driving forces to success. So for me, my external accountability, having you as a coaching in my coaching cohort, having people who are, like-minded and who allow me to become the best version of myself, that's external accountability, but it drives me because I'm with a team of people,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I know that I want to put in my share, that I want to contribute. So even though I may not feel like doing it, the external accountability is what drives me. And for me personally, I like to work hard and I like to play hard. And there are some times where I may not necessarily get things done if I didn't have the external accountability. I may push something off and say, okay, I'll wait to do this. But if I know I have to show up in a group or I have to show up because someone's depending upon me,
Yeah.
I'm actually going to do it.
Yes.
But I think what happens too is external accountability, if used in a different meaning or a different way, where you're looking for validation, more validation than accountability, where you're looking for someone to say you're doing the right thing or you're doing a great job or you're not able to really do your tasks without the feedback from someone else to make you feel good, then that's a red flag we sort of have to look at. I believe there's no right or wrong, bad or good. It's just, does that serve you, that doesn't serve you? Because the moment you put yourself at the discretion of another person, if that person's in a good mood that day and they're saying you're doing a great job, then you're going to feel great. But what happens if the person's in a shitty mood that day and it has nothing to do with you, but they're just in a bad mood. And now no matter what you do is not going to be good. And now you're going to internalize that as, wow, maybe I didn't do that well, or, so that's where it could stop you. But the internal, going back to internal accountability for me, I would say in the past, I would probably put too much on myself, right? So I would say, okay, if I had this week time frame, in the past, I would say I want to get all of these things done, which really, when I look back at what I was looking to get done, it was almost impossible. I was setting myself up for failure, honestly. But what I have learned for simple accountability now is I show up every single day, and in the morning, I just look at what are my top 3 things that I need to accomplish and complete this day. And that's what I really focus on. And even if I don't complete those 3 things, then I look at moving them just to the next day, right? I don't ignore them. I don't beat myself up about it. I do more of an objective Groundhog Day. Okay, what was the reason I didn't do these? What came in the way? And what can I do for tomorrow to make sure they do get done? But simple accountability for me is incorporate of a reward. So when I do it, then I reward myself with a walk outside. Like the other day, I got my stuff done that I needed to do, and I went out to a local park, Avalon Park, and I brought my VP of operations, who's my rescue dog, Casey.
I love that. Those pictures are beautiful.
It was gorgeous. And Avalon Park by me is just so beautiful, and it fills my soul. So my simple accountability is getting just those 3 things completed. And when I do complete 1, 2, or 3, I could decide how I want to do it. Then I can reward myself.
Yeah. I love that because it's showing, like you said, sometimes we make things too big and too difficult and have an expectation. But when you just take those top 2 or 3 things and you break down what your total outcome is into these bite-sized daily tasks, and then you can say, okay, I can prioritize these. Like, it's so important today I get through this and this. If I do that, then great. Anything else is sort of gravy. Or I'll do this and this, and then I'll go for the walk. Catch my breath, revamp, recharge. Okay, now I can come back and I can take on the next task. And that's just I think that's a great way to keep yourself accountable.
Yeah. And I'm thinking as you were talking, kind of what was coming through, again, the word simple is coming to my mind, is that we, like, for instance, let's say, for example, that I have it on my task list that there's a colleague of mine that just ends up kind of pushing boundaries a little bit. So even though, like, let's say that I'm in the midst of working on something, this person will come into my office and chat away, and then it interrupts the way that I'm working. So I have it on my list to have a conversation with that person, right?
Okay.
Just that like, let's that can't really happen, and here are the times that we could chat and things like that, right? So really, the simple task is have a conversation with Fred, right? That's it. That's a simple task. Have a conversation with Fred to set your boundary. That's all it really is, Linda, right? That's as simple as it could get. But here's what makes it confusing. Oh my God, is Fred going to be mad? Oh my God, can I say it? Can I do it? How am I going to do it? Like the 3 days before, worrying about it.
Yeah.
How are you going to say it? Thinking about all the things that Fred could say, how he could respond, how he's going to react. What does that mean? Does that make me mean? I don't want to be a bad person, and blah, blah. And before you know it, just the simple task of just have a conversation has now turned into a tsunami of emotions and stories. And now it goes into, forget about just the fear of having the conversation. It goes to, I'm not good at that. I'm terrible at that. I can't talk to people. I don't know how to talk to. And then you go into battering yourself. See what happened in 6th grade when, you went up, remember when that happened? And then before you know it, you've just now created an entire solar system of stress and chaos.
Yep.
From something that is so simple.
Yep.
So
I've done that.
Right. And we all do it. And I still find my mind, because again, 95% of what we think, well, not I know, is subconscious, and 5% is conscious. So the subconscious is always going to come in. So when I feel myself sort of going that direction where chaos has taken over, it's a signal and an opportunity for me just to step back and ask myself, in what way am I making this difficult? In what way am I making this more difficult than it needs to be? And my question always is, how can I bring it back to basic? How can I just bring it back to simplicity?
Yep. And taking the meaning out of it,
Yes.
that the conversation needs to be, or is going to be, painful. It's just a conversation.
That's exactly it. How many times do we set ourselves up to say, oh, this is going to be hard? Why?
Yeah.
According to
another person, Fred, might be like, oh, that's awesome. Thank you for, like, now I know,
Yes.
He might be having angst. He might be picking up on your vibe. Who knows, right? But by actually just saying, this is just a conversation. It's not that there's something wrong or bad, or he's bad, or I'm a terrible person. I'm just having a conversation. And so when you make it be simple like that, you can, or I can, move through my things and then get it done. Otherwise, I spend a lot of time blocking, avoiding,
procrastinating. And I think this brings back to the other piece of simple accountability, which is the difference between just throwing something to the wall and hoping it gets done, and having no clear plan and no clear marks along the way, so you can measure, am I going in the right direction, or am I going in a direction that serves me or not, versus having accountability, where it is those small little pieces that are leading you to where you want to go. What do you think about that?
I love that, because that's a question that I ask my clients when I work with them. I think that's part of our coaching relationship, because they, as we all do, we just acknowledged, make themselves wrong. So in my area, I work with people around the area of health, which requires them to make behavioral changes, maybe around food, or around food, and taking care of themselves. And so, especially with food, I don't know if you saw on Tuesday, I did a live with Katie Papo.
I did. I didn't see the whole thing, but I did catch a piece of it.
Yeah, Katie's awesome. And so we were talking about the meanings that people make with them around themselves and food, like, I'm bad when I eat this, right? Or so the conversation that I'll have when I'm coaching someone around accountability, but taking that meaning away from it. So let's talk about, are the choices you're making moving you towards your goal? Like, you want to feel well, you want to improve your health. Doesn't mean you're good or bad, but did you make choices that are moving you towards that goal or away from that goal? That's how I try to, like, bring that level of accountability without the meaning that is often attached to it.
Yeah, and I think you said something that's key that I think is very important just to note is that Zig Ziglar said you cannot be a wandering generability, meaning you just can't be generalizing and just wandering around. No one wants to be that. That accountability comes with the premise we have a goal. Like, I think that's important to note is that simple accountability that leads to your success is because you have a goal that you're going towards, that you've identified an outcome that you want. And those accountability pieces aren't there to hurt you. They're there to give you little markers along the way so they can guide you. I kind of think about it like the lines in a road. If there were no lines in a road, even though people know what side of the road to drive on, I think it would be chaos. Could you imagine what it would be like without the lines to guide you in the road? And I don't know if you've ever driven through a snowstorm, but here in New York, when you go upstate, man, right, you're not too far from me, right? If you go in the snow, sometimes all you see is the line in the middle of the road that guides you because that's all you can see. You can't see anything past it. And I think that's so equating towards goals is that sometimes the goals may be so hard or you know, all of those thoughts and meanings that you're making it, but you just need to keep your eye on the outcome and then ask yourself, and I love how you said that, are your decisions and are your actions leading you towards your outcome or away from your outcome? No blame, no shame, like Bonnie said, right? No blame, no shame. Just are we leading towards the outcome or are we moving away from our outcome?
Right. And then another layer of that to my mind is the frame that you're looking at those guidelines. So you can either relate to them as they're dominating you, these are things that dominate me, and who wants to be dominated, right? From toddlers on up, we're always pushing back on, you know, feeling restricted and dominated. Or you can look through the frame of that center line is keeping me centered. It's keeping me on track.
Right.
So I can choose to look at it in whichever way serves me, right? But noticing what's the frame that I'm really relating to this through.
Yeah, I think the same thing. I mean, I think it's anything, whatever our outcome is that is leading to what we would consider to be success, because success is different for everybody, right? So for the women I work with, maybe women want to be remarried, maybe they don't. Maybe they want to have an increase in their career. Maybe they're happy where they're at. Maybe they want to figure out where they're retiring. Maybe they're nowhere near retirement and they just want to be happy right now. Again, I could go all across the board, which I'm sure you can too, but it's once you have an outcome, because I think that's one thing, again, like if I look back in my past of what I would consider to be not good accountability and not really successful goal reaching is when I didn't identify it. I didn't have a clear path. I didn't know where I was going. I didn't know what I really wanted. It was kind of like that beige statement, like I want more money. Well, great. The universe just gave you a penny. That's more money. So now what, right? It's when I really learned how to say and identify exactly what I wanted versus the gray or beige wallpaper. I think that's when things really began taking off for me.
Yeah, I think the specifics, the more clarity you bring to the conversation, the more specific you are, the more likely you're going to attain it. And sometimes asking yourself, in the area of money or the area of health, I'll just stick with that. You know, I want to be healthy. That's a pretty vague, bland statement, right? What does that mean? How would you know when you're more healthy? How would you know? What would it look like? How, you know, what exactly would show up? So when you can get clarity on that and really identify and tease that out very specifically, now we have a plan of action to go after. And when we actually attain, so let's just say in the area of health, I want to, you know, be able to get through the day without needing to take a nap.
Yeah.
Right. That's very specific. So now when we have 1 day, 2 days, 3 days in a week where you didn't need a nap, we're making progress, right? That's like, okay, now I want it to get to be every day, but used to be no days did I need
right.
Like really clarifying that for people, that helps with accountability, and it helps going back to the simple part, making it bite-sized pieces.
I don't know if you can see, but Christine wrote on there the SMART goals, which is very true. Smart,
Specific.
measurable, attainable, timeline. Yep.
Yeah.
Repeatable timeline.
Yeah, that's a great.
I think the R is repeat. I'm not sure, but I know it's S.
Okay.
S is the SMART goals, which are so many corporations follow.
Yes.
Has to be
Yeah, I think
specific.
the R is
Has to be measurable. Has to be attainable. What is the R for? And I know T is for timeline.
Like, like repeatable, that you can replicate it again over and over.
And you know what?
So,
and it goes again, going back to simple accountability, right? The simple accountability and setting the simple goals is, if you're at a place right now where you're completely overwhelmed with emotion and you have a soul fracture that's within, setting a goal that's so far outside of that could not serve you well. I think it's looking at what's my next step. Have you ever, I forgot the book. It is, I think it's Alchemist. Have you ever read The Alchemist?
I have not read it, but I've heard of it. It's on my list. Yes, I've heard of it.
I love The Alchemist, but the premise of The Alchemist, a big piece of the story is you just take the next step that's in front of you. I think where Linda is frozen.
Yeah, I just think
there you go. You were frozen there for a minute, but I think you're back. Yeah. You're back.
Okay. All right, good. Thank you. I think that that's really important, whether both of our tribes probably are really immersed in the emotion of where they're at in their life, right? Whether it's a life-changing event or it's their health. It's very emotional about, I don't want my life to be like this. I expect it to look like this. This isn't where I want to stay. And there's a lot of emotion attached to that. So I think helping people tease out and separate, okay, that's how you feel, but here's what is, and here's how we're going to take steps to move forward. Makes a difference.
It's kind of what I say. Let's go to feelings, or let's go to facts, not feelings, because feelings aren't facts. Just because we're feeling something 100% valid, you have every right and reason, and you're honored to feel those feelings, because that means you're alive and you were created to feel feelings. So that's a really good thing. But we don't want to misconstrue that with that's the fact, or that's how we're defining ourselves, or that's where our identity is. So I'm just kind of thinking about, ways that we could share. And in my way of really kind of breaking it down to simple, that I would recommend is, number one is setting your identity of who you want to be, like what is that goal? Like, so if, successful Donna or CEO Donna, what would she look like? What are the tasks that she would be doing? How would she be responding to things? How would she be reacting, responding? What are the things that she would be doing? What are the things that she would be saying? So once we identify very clearly what our identity is, now we can begin to have a curious conversation around what that person looks like and the tasks that person would be doing.
Yep.
And then bringing the accountability and the simple pieces of the SMART measurable goals.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a great place to start. So for someone who's healthy, who changes their health, if I'm a healthy person, what does that look like? What does a healthy person choose to eat? When do they choose to go to bed? How do they choose to take care of themselves and love themselves in a way that, I think a lot of people, do a great job taking care of their kids or other people in their lives, and then not themselves, right? So
even their animals. Like, sometimes I see when I'm on the trails with the people with their animals, and don't get me wrong, I am a fur baby mom all the way. Like, me and Casey, man, we're out there and we're doing our thing. But sometimes I run into people and you could see how well cared for the dog is. And, I'll have a conversation with them and they'll be, kind of complaining of where they're at or how they're not feeling well. And I'm thinking, yeah, like we're so conditioned and accustomed to doing for others versus ourselves.
Yes. Yep. So starting there, as you said, and then saying, okay, maybe just on a week-to-week basis, I do weekly calls that people can hop on and, if they choose to, or even some one-on-one calls. But between now and the next time we talk, let's come up with 2 things that you can put in place, and they'll choose.
I love this. I love this action. Let's do this. I'm going to join in on this with you. For my guys, right? For my tribe is let's do it in vivo by next week. By the next Facebook Live, which I know we do it every other week together, but I essentially do one once a week. So by next Thursday, what are 3 things that you would have liked to accomplish? I think we might have lost our friend Linda. I could see the Zoom going in and out. I was hoping we could hold on. Let's see if she comes back. But anyway, for those of you, and actually on Linda's side too, is identifying those 3 things that you would like to have accomplished and make them simple, right? So think about what it is that you're looking to accomplish, and 3 things, very simple. And then if your mind begins to sort of wander and go into how difficult it could be, or what are the pitfalls that could happen, just acknowledge it in yourself and say, no, I'm not going to allow this to become more difficult than it needs to be. Is that here's my goal. And then you ask yourself, okay, if Donna having this goal, what are the decisions she needs to make? What are the things that she needs to do? How would Donna be sleeping? How would Donna be eating? And just begin to ask yourself those small little questions, and then begin to delve it and drive it into your day. Like, for instance, if I want to be the most successful I can each and every day, I know for sure 100% that I need to start my day with a meditation. Because that's how I know. I'll ask myself, if Donna wants to have the most successful day that she could possibly have, what are the 3 things that she would need to do that day? Number 1 would be start my day with a meditation. Number 2 would be eating meals. And number 3 would be taking healthy breaks throughout the day. And now I can identify what that means to me, how I'm going to fit them in, and putting them in my calendar. So with that said, I don't know where Linda went, but apparently her Zoom went out. But we missed you, Linda. We're sorry that you couldn't end this broadcast with us. But for everybody that's here, I hope you had an amazing day. Oh, let's see. I was just about to close, Linda. Is there anything you want to share before we close for the day?
I couldn't hear you. I lost connection. I left StreamYard, so I don't know. Did you create an action
so my action was to 3 things that you would like to accomplish by this time next week.
Okay, awesome. All right. So are you and I doing that this time next week, or in 2 weeks when you and I?
I was saying this time next week.
Okay.
For that. But if you want, we could do this time in 2 weeks, just because it's the accountability for us. So maybe we should do that. This could be fun that way. Okay. So guys, we're gonna reverse a little bit, and we're gonna redo the goal, which is 3 things that you would like to be held accountable to by this time in 2 weeks, which is, just to put it in our calendar, just so we have it, is October 22nd. So come to the broadcast, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where we can put this out there of the 3 things that you'd like to accomplish, and we'll kind of support you through that and celebrate. How does that
sound? Yeah, and I'm going to also do that. I'm going to come up with 3 things, either in the area of my personal life, my health, my business, something. And I'll share what that is, and then we'll tag on whatever we're going to do.
Awesome. Is that good? All right. Sounds good. So everyone have an amazing weekend. Linda, again, an amazing conversation. I always love speaking with you. I mean, we could go for hours and hours.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thanks for letting me back in.
Yeah. And it's kind of one of those days. And, I needed my water in the beginning, which I didn't have any water. So of course, the moment I started talking, what ends up happening, I need a sip of water. And so we had quite an interesting Zoom session today between the water and the coming in and out, but
it's all good.
Perfectly imperfect, right? I always say perfect imperfection is where we need to be.
Just like life.
Yes. All right. Have an amazing rest of the day. I'll see you later.
Thank you. You too.